Chapter 3. Something is amiss. The date is April 27th, 2178, at approximately 10 o'clock a.m. I was at work with Dave again. Dave is an older man, about 12 years older than me. He taught me the job and has been in the company for over 20 years. I like to work with him the best because my days always go smoothly with him. Sometimes he must work in another section and they let someone fill in for him. After our first delivery this morning, he said, "Tomorrow I must work in Section C, but I'll be back on Wednesday." I acknowledged and we continued on our route. On the other hand, I never get switched out. I think Dave was around earlier and has access to some special areas that newbies like me shouldn't know about. But that's naturally only speculation. Dave never talks about what he does on the other shifts, and I don't ask. The next morning, I met up with Dave's fill-in by the Titan. This guy introduced himself as Jake Socorro. He said he normally works in a chemical producing sector. He told me that they do this often. He'll work for a few days, and then they switch him out with some older guy for a day or two. He told me that in Sector C, they don't have partners like Dave and me. Rather, they work alone in different modules. I knew that if I wanted to keep my job, I'd better not ask too many questions about it. Again, the day went smoothly, and I went home. The next day, Dave was back. He was quiet and acting weird. Like I said, I didn't want to stir things up, but I was getting weirded out about the whole situation. That evening, I told my brother what had happened, and he said I did the right thing by not asking too many questions and such. Later that evening, I was watching the news and caught a story about how trees and other plants were starting to die because of some kind of water problem. I didn't think much of it and went to sleep. The date is Thursday, April 30th, 2178, at approximately 1 o'clock p.m. Dave and I had already completed 7 deliveries and it was almost the end of the workday. We were planned to deliver a couple of containers and that was it for the day. I was happy because that meant we would get off about 1.5 hours earlier. Dave, on the other hand, looked at the numbers on the container and got kind of weird looking in the face. It was as if he knew what was in the containers and was not happy about it. We delivered as normal and went home, but I couldn't get the expression of his face out of my mind. Friday came around and everything was smiles as usual, because everyone I work with knows it's the weekend. I started thinking about what Randy wanted to do and began preparing myself mentally. I needed to make sure I didn't party too hard and got some sleep for the next day. Of course, as soon as I got home, Daryl was on my HPad telling me about a wild party I must attend or I suck. He went on about how we didn't see each other last weekend and I owe him one. I told him it's cool and I'll come with, but I must get back by the Cinderella hour. He accepted my conditions and I took a shower and got dressed. He picked me up about 8:30 p.m. and then we grabbed something to eat and jetted to this party he was talking about. When we got there, Daryl saw 2 pretty girls and immediately went to work. 10 minutes later, we were all dancing wildly in the living capacity of this unit of which I didn't know the owner of. There was a robotic DJ that could hear and understand shouted requests coming from the crowd. This robot would record the request in order and play back the requested music in the same order as long as people kept requesting. When there were no more requests, the robot DJ would play music from the top 100s chart until it received new requests. That meant everybody was feeling good because they heard exactly the music they wanted at some given time in the party. The girls requested some songs, and when they came on later, of course they wanted to dance. And it's easier to dance with someone you've already danced with. It was like a boomerang effect, and they kept coming back to us. We took a few pictures and gathered many GC numbers. The Cinderella hour crept on, and I wanted to be in good shape for the dive. So I told Daryl. He had also worked that day, so he was cool with it. When I finally made it home, I thought, TV on, and then news channel. I was just interested in the water problem that I had heard about earlier in the week and wanted to see if I could catch something on it right quick before I went to bed. Sure enough, after about 5 minutes, a clip came on and said, Northwestern Koreanis is further plagued by an unusual tree and plant virus, which scientists are now calling the tree-eating virus or TE virus for short. The virus is said to have already killed over 5,000 trees, 1,000 acres of plant life, and over 2,000 fish. Humans have not been affected, but there are reported cases of bears and other fish and plant-eating animals that are being deprived of their food sources in those areas. These animals are forced to migrate farther south in order to survive. Wow, I thought, this is really getting bad. It almost sounds like the BP2, the second Black Plague. I'd better warn Randy before we dive. Hopefully it doesn't get this far.